Welcome to The Walk. In this episode, conversation with Ryan Marshall. Life Together with Wayne Dudley. This is the podcast for April 29th, 2021.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to the podcast. We're excited to have you here today, hanging out with us. Before we get too far, let me introduce the gang. I'm Scott. We have Tyler, Shemegan, Jeremy, and I don't know if you can see him over there on the floor is also Tarly joining us today. Hi, buddy. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing good. Doing good.
Great.
So just real quick, guys, we're obviously doing this podcast. We're called The Walk. If you want to watch us on YouTube, go there, hit the bell, hit subscribe, and then also in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, hit subscribe, leave a rating, leave a review. Those things help us with getting it out there, and also you subscribing helps you get notified the second that we go live with a new episode. So
yeah, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. And if you click the bell, they'll, like for this podcast, they'll even get notices on Sunday when we
have our church services.
Yeah, very cool, awesome. So you guys had a good week. Jeremy, what have you been up to, man?
Not a ton, but my parents have been moving lately. So they're looking for a new house, and we're repairing a bunch of stuff at the house they're in now. So I'm getting involved in a lot of that work, and it's fun. I enjoy it.
And then I know, Tyler, you've been doing some work at your house as well. Give us the abridged version.
Scoop.
we had a plumbing problem. Our shower drain was just clogged, and then I tried everything. I borrowed an auger from Scott. It didn't work. I bought a smaller auger, hoping it would work, and then my landlord bought an even smaller one, and none of them worked. And we probably tried 4 different versions of Drano, even the commercial stuff, and then
well, you look very clean today, so obviously
our shower works. Raina actually wanted to be the one to fix it.
Maybe you should tell us who did the fixing.
Yeah, I mean, I tried. Our
Shout out to Raina.
I mean, the next step was calling a plumber and then paying a plumber bill. But our landlord brought over this plunger. This one of those big ones. It's like, here, try this. If this doesn't work, we'll get a plumber over here. And then Raina, on Saturday, she got it going.
Well, I tell you, you know this already, but the secret to a happy life is to marry up.
Yes, I definitely married up.
And
speaking
of marrying up, Shemegan, you shot a wedding this weekend.
Yes,
right?
I got to shoot my best friend's wedding. Wow. And it was a magical experience. So it was very emotional for me, watching my best friend get married to someone that I've known since kindergarten. He's a wonderful guy, and I couldn't have picked anyone better for her, but I just was like, please take care of my best friend. And so it was definitely a wonderful feeling to be able to be there and then capture their photos for them. And I got to work with an amazing videographer. So she did mine and Lawson's wedding, and it was just so neat to be able to be on like the other side of that relationship and be like a partner. So I had a really good weekend.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I asked about the wedding because today I want to have us hear a conversation that I had with a buddy of mine who actually was in Cindy and I's wedding. He was the ring bearer in our wedding, but really great guy, lives in North Carolina, named Ryan Marshall, and Tyler knows him a little bit too. And one of the things that he works at a church, and he's a worship pastor, kind of like Tyler is, his day job. But he's in this whole thing that we've been talking about with living a life that's the Jesus ideal of righteousness, which doesn't mean being a goody two shoes. It just means letting Jesus be a part of every facet of your life. Ryan does like this really great job with this, and he does it in some pretty interesting ways. So I thought, this would be really cool on our podcast to hear Ryan's story. So if it's cool, I want to share with you now the journey of Ryan Marshall. Right. This is Ryan Marshall. Ryan is the creative arts pastor at One Harbor, a multi-site church in North Carolina. Ryan has a deep passion for not only worship in the communities of One Harbor, but he is committed to seeing Jesus' message spread across the globe. He's used his gifts in the United States, in Europe, and in Africa in order to see the global church reach as many people as possible. It's central to his life, but not because it's his job. It's because Ryan's relationship with Jesus has shaped every facet of his life. Ryan has not only a deep affection for food, but a keen skill at preparing it. Food truly is spiritual for Ryan, as is also being on a road bike. Doing miles on two wheels has actually become time for meeting with God. Normal activities one wouldn't normally associate with Jesus are a part of living a righteous life for Ryan. But as important as those things are to him, even more important is his family. Ryan's best friend is his wife, Megan. They are the parents of two beautiful girls. Ryan, who's from California originally, has had most of his family relocate to North Carolina where they can all be close to each other. I've known this family for a very long time. Ryan's parents, Barry and Barbara, were my youth pastors and were two of the most important influences in my life. I've known Ryan literally almost his entire life. He is a man who's discovered firsthand what it is to walk with God in a relationship where Jesus flavors everything. This is Ryan's journey.
Hey everybody, how are you doing? I am really excited today to talk with a buddy of mine that I literally have known almost his entire life. Like I would think I was there like hours after he was born. But this is a guy that has been just a phenomenal guy from the get-go. He's somebody who means a lot to me. He was the ring bearer in Cindy and I's wedding, like 30-something years ago. I mean, that's just crazy. And
You should know that number.
I know, dude. I totally should know that number. He's a dad. He is a husband. He is a friend. He's a pastor, but more than anything, he's a follower of Christ. And he's an incredible artist. The logos for not only Discover Church, but for The Walk, for this very podcast, this is the man that designed those things. And so I am really pumped today to talk with my friend, Ryan Marshall. Ryan, brother, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. It's good to be with you. Some of my earliest childhood memories are watching Scott sling the football around Nevada Union Football Stadium and sitting on his shoulders going to the locker room at halftime. I remember dancing, getting sweaty at Scott and Cindy's wedding. So man, it's so good to be with you guys today.
That's great, man. So listen, here's the thing. I have been talking a lot here about the kind of life that I think Scripture indicates Jesus was calling us to when he was saying that he wanted us to be citizens of the kingdom of heaven. He talked about something called a righteous life. And I don't think that means he wanted us all to be like goody two-shoes or really moral. I think that it's much more about being able to find him and to let him be balanced, let him be kind of the reason why we do things in all areas of our life. And I know one of the things that even from a distance, I mean, you and I don't get to hang out, on a daily basis. We're limited to social media interaction pretty much, but even from a distance, you've always, it's been impressed on me looking and kind of watching you go from afar, all of the ways in your life that you integrate him. I mean, that it's not like you're just doing church all the time, but you're doing Jesus all the time in some just beautiful, different, varied ways. I think probably, and I think this because as much as you mean to me, the reason why you mean so much to me is, and that we've known each other so long, is because of the role that your mom and dad played in my life. Your dad was my youth pastor. Your mother was a real formative person in my life as well. So I know from which you come, right? And can you, just to get us started, speak a little bit about just your journey. Where did the experience of Jesus in doing life with Jesus kind of cross over from being some like religious thing that you grew up with into being something that was a relational deal that you started incorporating into all kinds of areas of your life? I mean, can you remember where that kind of?
Yeah. So my earliest memories are in the church. I love the church. I love the bride. I love being around the people of God. He is coming back for his bride. And so my parents instilled in me from an early age, not by way of sit down talks, but in the way that they live their lives, just how important the community of believers is for them and for our family. And I mean, the first moment that I can remember where that went from just observation to personal encounter was the day I gave my life to the Lord. I was at a church called Magnolia Avenue Baptist Church, and Doug Metzger, who was the lead pastor, as he did every week at the end of the service while we were taking communion, he just said, "Hey, does anybody want to say yes to following Jesus? Does anybody feel like he is calling them? And if so, come forward." There was like the day of the altar call, where you really had to count the cost of this yes, which I actually really love. And I remember with tears filling my eyes, I put my hand on the wooden pew that I was seated in, and I thrust myself to stand, and I walked down the aisle, and, through snot and tears, mumbling what words I could. I remember just saying to Pastor Doug, I want to follow Jesus. I'm saying yes. He's calling me, and I'm saying yes. I want all that is. And I feel like from that moment, as a 8-year-old boy, 8-year-old boy, man, the Spirit of God just filled my soul. I couldn't have fabricated the tears or the emotion that accompanied that yes. But in that moment, I really feel like God met with me. And I was young. Not every kid has that story. Some people find their way to Jesus in so many different ways, through a loved one or through a trial, or in recovery from addiction, or it could be a million different things. My story wasn't like that. It was one of, just from a young age, seeing him for who he was and wanting to follow him. And so that was really the first experience. I don't know if I'm answering the question that you're asking, but that was for me the first time it transitioned from my parents' faith to mine. And obviously that story has gone on from there.
Now, I do think, and you did a phenomenal job of answering the question. I do think that when you have something like this and you have a podcast thing, that you get people who hear guests talking and think, "Oh yeah, well, he's on there as a guest because he's like a ringer, right? I mean, he's a professional pastor. Of course he has this Jesus thing." But again, I think that, I mean, as great as you are with a guitar in your hand, or sitting behind, a communication device, and whether it's a digital piece of art that you're doing or whatever, is talented as you are at that stuff, what to me is the most impactful as an observer is seeing the way you let Jesus just flow through everything. And I think that for me, just again from a distance, seems to start with your wife. Can you talk about the way, and with your two beautiful girls, can you talk about some of the ways that you see Jesus in your family, that you feel Jesus in your family, that you guys try to, to incorporate him in just the normal ways that you do life, like if it's going on a trip or.
Yeah. Well, one way I see him is in them. My kids are a gift from him, and Megan is an incredible lady. I'm an intense guy. I can be a bit of a jerk from time to time, most times. And she is even keel. She is a peacemaker. She is kind. And so I see him in just the way that she deals with me, and the way that she mothers our kids. When we go on vacations, when we eat, when we put our girls to bed, we try as best we can to be mindful of just the reality that the Lord is the one who is at the helm of our family. So if we go on a vacation, we start our vacation usually in some garden somewhere. We kind of intentionally try to get into creation from moment one of our vacations. It's not about, checking out from Christian community and the Lord in those moments. Actually, it's all about checking in to him and letting him really bring us rest. So we have this little ritual when we go, whether it's to, Charleston, South Carolina, or Boone in the mountains of North Carolina, or Laguna Beach in Southern California. We seek out a garden and we say to the kids, okay, we got an hour here. So just deal with the fact you're going to be stuck in a garden. And I want you to think about and experience this place. But as you experience it, I want you to think about something that God has shown you about himself in this place. And then at the end, we're going to come right back to this spot and we're just going to talk about, what did God show you about himself in his creation? And so we'll walk around and then we'll get to the end. I like that tree. Man, I love the color purple that was in that flower. I like the smells. It was really peaceful. And so we try to do that with our vacations. If we're eating, we try to do it with excellence. So we try to make food that's really tasty because God has made us. He knows the hairs on our head. He cares about us. Ultimately, we're going to spend eternity with him, and it's going to start with a feast. And so we like to, even in the ways that we sort of rest from the work that we're doing, we try to enjoy that feast as best we can here on earth and just let him move in those times. We'll pray together in those times and we'll encourage each other, build each other up, honor each other. If I'm on my bike, I'm looking at creation, I'm praying, all that.
You're doing awesome. You're blowing through all of my questions that I have for you.
Okay.
No, it's great. It's great. Because I totally wanted to talk to you about the food. I wanted to talk to you because, dude, your IG is sometimes not a good thing for your friends to look at if they're hungry. Because, dude, you rock that. You have a deep appreciation for food. So I want to drill down a little bit on that. And then we'll also, I'd like to drill down on the bike riding too, if we can get to that. But let's start with the food. Okay. So you're a serious foodie. You don't mess around.
I am.
Serious.
It's a problem.
And you've already kind of connected that dot that it's not just a taste thing for you. It's a spiritual thing for you. And I'm not kidding. I mean, it really is. There's a spiritual aspect to that. So go ahead and unpack that even more than you already have. I mean, where was, because everybody loves food, right? But where was it that you made that connection and said, there's something to celebrate in this righteous life that God has provided for you in food?
I mean, I grew up in fine dining restaurants, working through my way through college, and even the first 8 years of our marriage. That's how I provided for my family, was working in, great restaurants. So I was exposed to that as a 17-year-old, bussing tables. It really locked in this year. And, as a pastor, you're often having people in your home. And so it's always around food. So that's a piece of this is like, we can only do so much on a Thursday night or a Sunday morning in the way of connecting with each other. And so to say to a couple, hey, you guys want to come to our place for dinner on Friday? Let's just throw down. It's unhurried time. Let's get to know you. It's a great way to hear about people's lives. But when COVID hit, as I think Discover did, we went online. We didn't have the ability to meet in person. And so the very first Sunday, this guy, Donnie, and myself and one of our other pastors got together. We probably broke some laws by way of the fact we had like 12 people in the house. But anyways, we got together and we did, I won't tell anybody if you don't, we did brunch together, and it was like, a egg casserole, some rolls, and some fruit. And we were kind of sitting around the table like, man, we should probably do this again. This was actually really cool. So we had watched the service. We worshiped in song. We prayed together for our city and for our people. And we wept and grieved the fact that we couldn't be with our friends. And then we took communion at the end. And then we did this meal, and it was like, man, that was actually a really sweet time. And lockdown doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. So let's do this again next Sunday. But what if we did like eggs Benedict what if we did eggs Benedict like 3 ways? What if we did like a smoked salmon one and a country ham one, and then we did like an Argentinian one with some chorizo and chimichurri? All right, cool, let's do it. So we threw down week 2, and then the next week we went from there, and it turned into these like 3-course meals after the services. And then we were, when the restrictions started to loosen, we invited some friends. Then my dad in July had his birthday, and my mom's and dad's anniversary was around that time. And so we invited them over, and we kind of tailored the meal to the Marshalls. And then, it's just snowballed from there, where we've even now, we've had some companies, kind of hire us out. We're really busy. We are not trying to build a catering company by any means, but a lady in our church is involved in essential oils, and she had her friends. This will be my last little story here on the food thing. She had 10 of her like top sales ladies in town from around the country. This lady's like a rock star in the essential oil world or whatever. And so she like got all these ladies in, and she had us do a 5-course tasting menu, but each course we had to use an oil in the course. And we started the meal reading from this book, and I wish I had it with me, I don't, called Every Moment Holy. And it's a great book that kind of just teases out, like, whether you're at the gym or you're at your kid's soccer game or you're at church or you're eating a meal, it has this resting kingdom potential to be more than just a meal. And there's like a little essay on an artisan meal. And the language in that essay is things like, as we prepare this meal, Lord, would taste evoke our senses to awaken us to who you are. And it culminates with that thing I've already alluded to, which is like, ultimately there is a feast that will come. And this points to that feast. And so we pray that we would be so present in this meal as we consume this food, that our affection for one another and for you would grow. And so we read that over the ladies at the party. We were all crying. It was the first time we'd really kind of read that thing. And it really, it kind of brought home just like I said, the potential that having a meal has. Jesus did that with his buddies on a beach, around a table, charring up some fish. And I think the opportunity that we have in the mundane exercise of making a meal is we can really bless people.
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome, brother. All right, let's talk about the bike, because there's a lot of similarities. I mean, a lot of people exercise, and there's a lot of different ways to exercise, walking, running, riding. But you're doing something with that bike that is beyond just exercising or even recreating. You're having church on that bike in a personal way. I mean, I've seen some of the stuff you've posted. I mean, yeah, and there's some good stuff about, you rode a certain distance and all that jazz. But, the stuff you were posting, on your last trip, and this, seeing the nature, seeing what God has done out there, having that sort of present connection. Talk a little bit about what you have discovered about him on the back of your bicycle.
I'm a fluffy kind of guy. I got a soft core. I have a lot of extra lbs when I stand on the scale. And so I have never really enjoyed the fitness side of life. I eat a lot and I don't like to work out, and that's not a great sort of combo anyways. But I found this, road cycling thing in the last year or so. And what I found is it's great for my physical health. My heart rate gets moving. I sweat a little, or a lot, because I'm a fat kid. And it's a great way to kind of clear my mind. I'm sure you guys have those sorts of things yourself, whether it be running or, playing racquetball, or, getting on a golf course, or taking a walk, or going surfing. For us, I don't know that you guys have great waves in Tulsa. So I found it to be this great gift of just kind of getting my mind straight. Sometimes I'll pray, sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll think about work and kind of try to walk through some, challenges I'm facing and how best to handle those things. But when I'm on the bike, there are moments where you get on a ride and the reality of God's beauty in creation is just unbearable. And so Scott alluded to our recent vacation. We go up to the mountains of North Carolina in the western part of the state, and the Blue Ridge Parkway runs through where we stay. It's just this incredible stretch of highway that overlooks the Smoky Mountains and Blue Ridge Mountains. And there is a spot that is a very spiritual spot for me, where at the top of my ride, it's about a 35-mile ride. At the top of the ride is a place called Lynn Cove Viaduct. And if you've ever seen pictures of the Blue Ridge Parkway, this is often this kind of half suspended bridge that you'll see in the photos. And it's at the top of a, 10-mile climb. And so you kind of get there, and there is the sort of like physical adulation of being done with, the climb. But then there's this sort of emotional, spiritual thing where it's like you kind of get to the top of the world, and you're looking out like 270 degrees at some of the most beautiful land in the United States. And I try not to be disconnected in that moment, especially. I try to really thank the Lord for the opportunity to ride a bike. Mm-hmm. And I thank my wife for letting me go on the ride, because it's a long ride. And when I get away to rest, I want to come back having spent time with the Lord. And, again, whatever it may be for you, I think God wants to redeem those things that often the world wants to turn into competition or, something about yourself. And I think he's helping me. I'm not there yet. I got a long way to go. I'm a major work in progress. But he's helping me to see the opportunity that, even sitting on top of a bike at the top of a mountain has to remind me, hey, Ryan, I love you. I love you. Not because you did good at your job or because you didn't sin today or actually even when you're in your most broken place. I love you because I love you because I love you. And my resurrection leaves very little room for your striving to earn my love. I love you because I love you. And those things, just when the cares of life kind of are stilled and I'm in those places, that echo of truth is especially present for me and audible. And I can sense the love of a living God who loves me because he loves me, because he loves me. And that's it.
That is it, man. That's brilliant. We done. That's great, man. I love you, buddy. Thank you very much for doing this. Thanks. And not just for doing this, but just thanks for who you are. And thanks for your prolific social media presence. And giving me a glimpse into, what you're doing out there.
So that is Ryan Marshall. What do you guys think?
I personally, I love Ryan a lot. I've gotten to know him a little bit since I've started here. You kind of set me and him up with kind of like a mentorship thing, and we try to FaceTime every now and then, just talk about life, talk about just like what's going on, talk about work, all that kind of stuff. And it's nice to have like another like a worship pastor friend that he's older than I am, but we go through some of the same things and we experience some of the same things. And so for me personally, I really like Ryan. Ryan's a cool guy.
What do you guys think about the spiritualization of pizza dough?
Yeah, I had never even thought about being able to correlate the two, and now I want to be more thankful and like vocalize that whenever I am making dinner, and being able to put like a taste or a smell with my relationship with God. So I thought that was really neat and a new way to be able to be thankful.
I liked how he's really conscious about how he interacts with God throughout the day. I think a lot of times we get caught up in our daily lives of work and friends and this and that. And for him to find things in his life that he enjoys and can also sit back and spend that time with God is really important. And I like how he found a great balance how to do that.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Like he's intentional about taking the things he's passionate about, and giving them to God and using them as not necessarily gifts, but taking those passions and just pouring himself out in those things to God. Like for me, music is one of those things. I can record stuff at home for this, and I can pour my passion for music into that. And Jeremy, he likes going to the gym. He can go to the gym and give his body as a sacrifice. Like, my body's a temple, and I can take this passion and I can use this for good. And Shemagan with photography, she can, as an art form, she can pour herself into that as a form of worship. And I just think that's something that we need to be mindful of.
So I wonder if, from like a practical perspective, just all of us just thinking about, okay, what would it be like? How would I flip things that I do in normal life that I've never perceived before as, moments with Jesus? Practically speaking, how would I make those transitions? And I like how I think you kind of stumbled on it, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like you were sitting in front of that sunset thinking, oh, God, show me something. But God did show you something, right? And you were open to it. And I think maybe that's, would that be fair? I don't think words in your mouth.
Absolutely. So I think that I was able to stumble across that and just have that one-on-one moment with God, like just sitting there and reflecting back on my day or my year, whether I don't even remember if it was a bad day or not, but after that sunset, it was a good day, and just being able to say, thank you for showing me that, because it wasn't just a sunset to me. It was just a moment to reflect on my relationship with God, seeing that something so like normal can be so powerful, for me. And so I think like I've been able to do that with other things in my life because I've made that one-on-one time of just, I used to be really uncomfortable with silence, with not talking to people, with being alone. And then I moved to a place that I knew two people. And so I had to find out, who am I friends with? And I was in a home alone, and I found that Jesus is my friend. He's not just like my God, but he's my friend. And so that moment that I was, finding sunsets, I was actually also being able to transition that and be more intentional with things at home. So like my moment now could be folding laundry. Like there's more than just sunsets. Obviously, sunsets are beautiful and I will always be grateful for them, but there's other like moments that I'm not sitting in the mountains looking at a sunset, and I've been able to be like, Jesus, thank you for letting me fold these clothes, because I could be someone who has no clothes, and being able to say like, these clothes just didn't find me, and being able to say, thank you for this opportunity, even though it's just folding clothes.
Yeah, I think there was that sense of willingness that you showed, to like, okay, God, let me, even in folding laundry, find you, and he'll find us. So I think that's a good thing for us, all of us, to be open to letting God connect with us. And so, hey, while we're talking, you had the chance to do a community piece, to do a Life Together with Wayne Dudley. How was that?
It was really neat. I got to experience the unique things that interest Wayne, something that I would have never thought about tying in and finding a passion for, and then also being intentional with your passion and making it something to like correlate with Jesus. So I thought that was really neat.
Awesome. Well, let's take a look at that now.
Today I'm going to see Wayne Dudley, who owns Dudley Vintage Market, and learn about his love for antiques and the wood type. Hi, how are you?
I'm
Shemagan, nice to meet you.
I'm Wayne, nice to meet you. Well, welcome. Most of my merchandise that I take to antique shows is outside in my driveway in that trailer, but I pulled a few things just to kind of give a sampling of what you would find in my booth. I typically have small items. I rarely have anything that does not fit in a suitcase. I define my theme as vintage utilitarian. I like things that were part of everyone's everyday life. Cameras, old typewriters, fans, suitcases. These were things that were in everybody's home or in their workplace or in their school, and so very familiar, and it's just fun to connect with the old because it gives you a connection with your grandma. My biggest passion that I haven't mentioned is the antique wood type. I have tubs of these wood type letters sorted by alphabet, and I've got one tub for every letter because my customers see this and their eyes get big and they start drooling, kind of figuratively, and they start imagining what they can do with it. I say play. I would say my grandfather, who was, I have not thought about this a lot, but just at this moment, I'm thinking, I'm a lot like him. I just love history in, ancient history, and knowing that those who preceded me in this world have carried with them what has passed down the generations to me and has helped me know what life is all about. I came to know Jesus Christ as my Savior when I was a young adult, and I wouldn't know that. I wouldn't know about Him were it not for my parents and those before them that have preserved that history and that truth.
That was really fun. That was really great. So, Jeremy, I know you actually have a pretty cool relationship with Wayne. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that, and I always love seeing the two of you guys, on Sunday afternoons or after we're tearing down stuff, you guys will usually find each other and talk. And some people might think that's kind of different, that, you're a young guy in your 20s and Wayne is something else. And, but, you've been able to kind of connect cross-generationally. How's that experience for you?
It's been awesome, and I love talking to Wayne every Sunday. It's cool just to pick his brain on different subjects. I mean, he's incredibly smart, and he's just really fun to talk to. I mean, he's just an amazing guy. I
think that is the coolest thing about any sense of biblically functioning community, and one that we really want to see grow and develop even more at Discover, where we get the blessing of being a part of other people's lives, especially people that we might not normally have a relationship with, and then they get likewise the connection to us, and we all grow deeper together in love with Jesus.
Yeah,
that works.
I remember my very first experience with Wayne. We hadn't moved up here yet, but I got the call that we were hired. So we were up here looking for a house, and we were up here on a Monday night, and we were kind of done looking, and then I was like, hey, you guys have men's group on Monday nights, right? And you were like, yeah. I was like, where are y'all meeting? I'm coming. And so, I show up at the Arby's, and I get to meet, all the guys, and that was my first experience with almost all of those people, except for like you and Mike. But Wayne was really interesting because, I got to ask him just like who's Wayne Dudley? What do you get to do? What do you do? And he is, we did the My Identity series like 2 summers ago. And one thing you kept talking about was like, we don't need to find our identity in our work. We find our identity in Jesus, and Jesus is our friend. And he mentioned that he's like, I work for a window company. I sell windows. I was like, and then he talked about that for a second, but he's like, but I love Jesus, and Jesus is my friend. And I just remember that was just such a really cool, it was a really cool way to meet Wayne, because that's where he finds his identity. He doesn't find his identity in some of the antique stuff or in his job, or even in Discover Church. His identity is in Jesus, and that's one really cool thing that I love about Wayne.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
Hey, so what are we going to do for worship today?
So we've got the center this week. I think it goes beyond just a message of hope, because I think that's always the lens and that's the lens I frame it through in the video, is that we have hope because of who Jesus is, and we have hope because of God's steadfast love. It's never ceasing. It's made new every morning, and we also get to experience that hope in the mundane, not just in the big life experiences, but even in the folding of laundry. We have hope. And even in the small things, God is there in every season. And I'm giving away the lyrics, but in every season, in every sorrow, but also in every victory and every joyful moment, He's there, and we have hope in the small and the big things. So
Awesome.
every season, in every sorrow, in my affliction, you're always my own. In all my weakness, in all my darkness, in all my sinfulness, you are my righteousness. I call this to mind that I have. I call this to mind that I have Your steadfast love is never ceasing. Your mercy is made new every morning. In every season, in every victory, in every joyful moment, you are the center. I call this to mind that I have owned. I call